Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'll be discussing the battery performance on the Moto X Style, or as they call it in States, Moto X Pure. Now those of you who follow me, you know that I had the phone for a few weeks now, and I've taken some screenshots to show you guys exactly how the phone's battery has been performing over the past few weeks. I will show you the screen on times on both Wi-Fi and 4G, and then we will discuss in detail how the phone has been performing. Those of you who are new to my video, I strongly suggest guys to please keep on watching so you have an idea how I do these dedicated battery videos. And if you are really interested in the battery life of the phone, I'm sure you will find the video very helpful. Okay, so first of all, let's get into the gallery guys, and from here let me go into my screenshots. There we go, and here I've taken the screenshots over the past couple of weeks, collecting my data and keeping an eye on the battery life of the phone. So first of all guys, this is the very first screenshot that I took, and I was using Wi-Fi most of the day at around 49%. After using it moderately and at times heavily, I got a total screen on time of 2 hours and 6 minutes. Now the phone has a 5.7 inch quad HD screen guys, so it's heavily pixel dense, and also the phone has a 3000 milliampere battery. So obviously the expectation wasn't much, but we'll see how the phone performed in the last couple of weeks. Okay, and then again, next screenshot guys, I charged the phone to 100%, and I had my Bluetooth on connected to my Moto 360, and at times with my mobile speaker, so I was streaming music as well at the same time. As you can see, I had a fairly heavy use, and at times I left the phone alone as well, so I would say heavy moderate use. And after the battery went down to 48%, I was able to get a total screen on time of 2 hours and 36 minutes. This is slightly improved from which you have seen in the previous screenshot where I was doing 2 hours and 6 minutes. So the reason for that is because in the previous screenshot I was using 4G at times here and there just to test the 3G connection out and the 4G connection out on my 3 UK network. So by the second day I had settled down well, and I was fully ready to test the phone on just Wi-Fi alone only, and hence the improvement in the battery life and the screen on time. So battery down to 48% on Wi-Fi only, I was able to get 2 hours and 36 minutes of screen on time. Okay, next screenshot guys, I pushed this phone on the same day all the way to 5%, and after using it for pretty much all day, as you can see guys in the graph here, heavily, at times I was using the phone heavily, at times I was using it moderately, but collectively it was a good long day of hard work. And at around 1:30 a.m. the next day, the battery asked for charging at around 5%, and I was able to get a total of 4 hours and 42 minutes of screen on time. This is so far the best screen on time I've had on the Moto X so far, and probably this was the only time I got this, and I'll show you in the next screenshots what I meant. But if you're purely on Wi-Fi, you are likely to get around something between 4 to 4.5 or maybe a bit more hours of screen on time. Okay, let's go further down guys. Another day, and after leaving the battery down to 1%, I was able to, this is where I used the phone moderately, and at times I was, you can see these red areas here up the bar, this is where the signal was at times a bit weak, so that's why the battery at times went really down, because it's looking for signal. And at times I did put it on airplane mode, but sometimes I did forget it as well. So after having a mixed kind of use all day long down to 1%, again I was able to achieve 4 hours and 34 minutes of screen on time, which is pretty much the same what I got in the previous screenshot. So guys, keeping in mind, if you have Wi-Fi on, you are likely to get between 4 to 4.5, maybe a bit more if you use the phone slightly moderately. But if you're the kind of user who are going to be on your phone non-stop, WhatsApping, Facebooking, checking emails and social media, Instagram and all that kind of stuff, that the likely chances are this might be a few minutes more or less than what I'm showing you here. Like you can see here, there are a few gaps here and there which I left the phone alone on standby, so it wasn't too bad. But if you're going to be on it non-stop constant, then it might be slightly less than that, but around 4 to 4.5 hours is confirmed. I normally keep my brightness guys around 50%. The Moto X screen is extremely bright. It's one of the few phones this year I've seen whose screen is very bright. Like for instance on the LG G4 on a quad HD screen, I have to ramp it up all up to 80 or 70% before I can start feeling the brightness of the screen. On the Moto X, it's a complete different story. It's one of the best screens I've seen so far. But then again, the con is the more brighter the screen, the quicker the battery life will deplete. So that's why I had the screen at around 50%, and despite me keeping the screen brightness at around 50%, still you can see the usage from the screen was the consumption was very high at 40%. Normally this, for an average phone, the kind of brightness that I normally have, it hovers around 25, 20%, 15%, 10%, something like that, but not 40%. So the screen is pixel dense, is hungry, and if you're going to rack the brightness all the way up, chances are you probably will not get this kind of screen on time. So if you want to get close to 4.5 hours, guys, I would suggest keeping it around 50%, or if less, if possible. Okay, further down, guys, then I have tested the phone here on 4G. I was streaming music on SoundCloud, as you can see, watching a few videos as well, and left the phone for a while on standby as well. Standby times, like I said, guys, are decent enough, not too bad. You likely probably lose 3 to 4%. I was saying about 7 to 8 hours of time, which is pretty much normal for a phone running Android Lollipop and not Marshmallow. But with Marshmallow coming up, guys, I'm hoping that thing will significantly improve, and phones standby time and battery might even improve a bit more. But because it's got a quad HD screen, so I do not expect it to improve way too much. Probably a bit here and there, maybe 15-20 minutes so, but nothing much more. But those and standby, I'm sure, will definitely improve even more. Okay, guys, here as you can see, down to 50%, and again I was able to get 1 hour and 51 minutes of screen on time. Now this is considerably lower as compared to what I got in the previous screenshots when I had the Wi-Fi on. As you can see on the top right corner, guys, I was using 4G, and on 4G this phone tends to eat a lot more than what it was eating before on Wi-Fi. This is one of the few phones this year in which I've seen it consumes a lot of data, a lot of battery life, sorry, if you are on mobile data or on 4G or 3G. So if you're the kind of person who are out and about, the most likely chances are that you'll be running out really quicker, especially if you use 4G all the time, plus you're going to be keeping the brightness high. You won't be getting much screen on time. Anyways, let's go further down, guys. Again, down to 5%, and after using it fairly heavily and leaving it for standby for a few hours as well, I was able to achieve 2 hours and 59 minutes of screen on time. Now this kind of usage was, like I said to you earlier, I was in 4G as well. At times I was in the weak signal area, and then I turned the airplane mode on, as you can see in this screenshot, and I used Wi-Fi a bit as well. So Wi-Fi 4G mixed, and I was able to get around close to 3 hours of screen on time. And this is what I said to you guys earlier. Exactly, guys, if you're going to be using this phone mostly on 4G, the likely chances are you'll probably struggle with even getting close to 3 hours of screen on time. And this is one of the few phones I've seen this year which is struggling on 4G in battery life. The LG G4, for instance, the Nexus 5X, they can get close to 3.5 hours of screen on time even on 4G, but unfortunately the Moto X style on a 4G consumes a lot more battery than an average quad HD screen phone out there. Okay, again, guys, down to 41% after a full charge, and I was able to achieve yet again 2 hours and 9 minutes of screen on time, guys. As you can see here in the GPS bit, I was using the phone on and off for satellite navigation, and at times I was in the weak signal area as well. So if you're going to be using your GPS, guys, or for instance if you're going to be using your camera, shooting a lot of videos and stuff, the Moto X style will go down considerably quick. I mean, I took a few photos, I remember, the other day, and shot a few videos, and all of a sudden I lost 20%, 30%, and I was like, okay. Most phones do tend to lose battery life when you use GPS and camera or video, but this phone, as compared to others, tends to lose battery rather quicker for some reason. Maybe it's the quad HD screen or whatever that is. For some reason, I don't know. And also, I would like to mention, guys, the phone at times heats up as well. If you've been following me on Google Plus, Twitter and Facebook, you must have seen my post in the last few weeks. The phone, whilst you're gaming or if you're using 4G data for prolonged amount of hours, it tends to heat up. And when I say heat up, it seriously heats up. It can go up to 45, maybe 50 degrees Celsius, and in some cases worse. So at times I was a bit concerned. As soon as I saw it heating up, I turned the 4G off and let it cool down for a bit, and then I used Wi-Fi, and it was all good. But you're going to be using Wi-Fi and the normal stuff, and you're going to be using the 4G occasionally, then it'll be alright. As long as you're not gaming for prolonged hours, and also you're not on 4G data browsing out and about for long hours, likely chances are the phone will not heat up, but if you do, it will heat up severely. I thought I'll just let you know. And because it heats up, heating can affect the battery life, and at times because of excessive heating, it can put strain on the battery. Anyways, at 2 hours and 9 minutes screen on time, guys, when the battery was down to 41%. Further down here, guys, carrying on, it went all the way down to 4%, and then after a fairly moderate use with the GPS on, satellite navigation every now and then, I was able to achieve 3 hours and 47 minutes of screen on time. Now this is slightly improved as compared to what the trend that we saw earlier, where we only had 2 hours and 6 minutes of screen on time. I realized that if you use Wi-Fi and 4G both, guys, at times, then you can still get close to 4 hours of screen on time. But if you're going to be using Wi-Fi only, then you'll probably get around 4.5. 4G only, you'll probably be struggling to even get close to 3 hours. But if you mix it up a bit, use a bit of 4G, bit of Wi-Fi, then this is the kind of figure you should be expecting from the Moto X style, which is around close to 4 hours, 3 hours and 3/4 of an hour. That's the kind of screen on time you probably will get from the Moto X style. Again, guys, then I tested the phone on 4G just to see, just using purely on 4G, how the phone behaves at 50%. After YouTubing, social media, as you can see, guys, here, Facebook and all that kind of stuff, I was able to achieve, by the way, I was using it non-stop heavily as well, because I really wanted to see how battery drains on 4G. I was able to achieve, guys, 50%, 1 hour and 34 minutes, which is a considerable loss of screen on time as compared to what we saw earlier in our screenshots. As you can see, on purely on 4G, no Wi-Fi, even though the graph shows you Wi-Fi, guys, but the Wi-Fi stays on because it's always scanning at the back end, so that's why it's showing you. But basically it was purely 4G, no Wi-Fi, and I was able to achieve 1 hour and 34 minutes of screen on time, which is considerably low as compared to our previous screenshots. Further down, guys, 6%. I didn't switch 4G off. I was constantly non-stop on 4G because I really wanted to see how I will end up the day with 4G only. YouTubing, Google Plus, Facebook, social media, everything, guys. And after a long, not I would say longish, I would say few hours of heavy session, I was able to achieve 2 hours and 57 minutes of screen on time. And this is exactly what I told you guys earlier, that if you're going to be using this phone for 4G, likely chances are that you're going to get close to 3 hours of screen on time. And like I said, this is one of the few phones this year that I've seen which sucks up a lot of battery on 4G, so please keep that in mind. 4G excessive usage, gaming excessive, will heat this phone up. You will suffer with battery life. But the good thing is that you have fast charging. I wasn't able to take screenshots of fast charging, guys. I do apologize, but I can show you one thing: the phone charges up really quick. I mean, if you say just start charging around 10-20%, you probably get to 100% just over an hour, which is very quick, and almost as good as on Samsung Galaxy handsets these days in 2015. Okay, again, guys, testing on 4G from 100% down to 37%, and I was able to get a total screen on time of, after a heavy moderate use, I would say 2 hours and 17 minutes. And I went further down to 5% after using it on 4G only, with lots of social media, YouTube, Facebook, Google Plus, and I was able to achieve at the end a total of 3 hours and 16 minutes of screen on time, which is slightly better than what we saw earlier. But and the reason for that is because I was slightly easy on the phone. As you can see, at times there were a few gaps here where I left the phone alone. It was on standby, so I was able to retain the battery a bit more. But in the previous screenshot that you saw, I was non-stop on it, and hence you saw a difference of around 20 to 25 minutes of screen on time. But this is what I got after using it purely on 4G with moderate use, just over 3 hours of screen on time. And then down to 5%, guys, again here, and another charge I was able to get again at 2 hours and 54 minutes of screen on time, which is about what exactly I spoke to you earlier. As you can see, guys, on 4G it tends to lose battery rather quicker as compared to Wi-Fi. So if you're on 4G, guys, that's the conclusion now. If you're on 4G, you're probably going to get close to 3 hours, maybe slightly a bit more than 3 hours of screen on time if you're going to use it moderately. Use it heavily, you'll probably be getting even less than 3. So, and for some reason the phone struggles, it heats up as well during 4G excessive use. So keep that in mind. It probably is the heat, because the heat, that's why it's struggling on battery, because heat can affect the phone in various other ways, which obviously I can't discuss all in the video. But if you're going to be using this phone on Wi-Fi, guys, you are most likely getting close to 4 hours, and even over between something like 4 and 4.5 hours easily. It won't be a problem. But with 3G, you're likely to get close to 3 hours of screen on time. And also, guys, keep in mind the heating side. On 4G prolonged use and on gaming, the phone tends to heat a lot. So guys, hopefully this video was helpful to you. And like always, guys, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. Any questions about the Moto X Style, Moto X Pure, whatever you call it, if you're in the States, you're probably going to be calling it Pure. If you got any questions, guys, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. And like always, guys, please subscribe to my channel, as it helps, and I will see you in the next video.